Hi guys, my name is Jenny, and I've always lived the life of a princess. I had all I could ever want and even more. I was the only child. So what do you expect? My dad was a multimillionaire who worked all day. I don't get to complain because that's what brings in the money. Growing up, my parents would spoil me with lots of gifts all the time and would basically give me anything I asked for. Yeah, I know I was spoiled, but can you blame me? What kid would say no to free gifts? We had a private chef that would make us super delicious meals, and we even had a butler who was there to answer to all of our needs. And our house was huge. So huge, sometimes I would forget what part of the house I was in. Our life was great. We would go on multiple vacations a year to places I can't even pronounce. It was pretty amazing, I have to admit. And don't get me started on my closet. It was filled with anything a girl could ever want. Designer clothes, shoes, and all the makeup in the world. Sometimes it was so hard to choose what to wear because I just had so much stuff. I know. The struggles of being a rich girl. On my 15th birthday, my parents had even surprised me with a brand new luxury car. My friends always told me how lucky I was that I didn't have to work for anything. And I laughed because the thought of me working was absurd. I didn't even have to wash my clothes or even dishes. In no time, I became one of the most popular girls at school. And I wasn't surprised. I drove the fanciest car to school, and I always wore the most expensive clothes. I even had different designer bags for each day. Oh, and my makeup was the bomb. I have to admit, I was living life on recruit difficulty. Then one day, all that changed when I came home and found my mom crying in the kitchen. I asked her what was wrong, and she replied, "Your dad is not coming home." I was confused. She sat me down and told me what happened. Turns out my dad had been obtaining all his money illegally and was involved in some sort of pyramid scheme. I would never forget those words because they were the beginning of my troubles. Since my dad had stolen the money, the government froze all of his bank accounts and seized all of his assets. This included all of our cars, our homes, and all the cool other things we had, like our yacht. Everything we had was gone. I didn't have fancy clothes anymore. Hell, I didn't even have a car. Because they took our houses, we didn't have a roof over our heads, so we had to sell all our belongings. This included my designer bags, clothes, shoes, literally everything. Me and my mom scraped up enough money to move into a small apartment, and it was nothing compared to my dad's house. I wondered how I was going to survive for a day here. This had become my reality. My mom couldn't afford the tuition for my private high school, so I had to transfer to a public school. The first day of school sucked, because first I had to use the school bus, and second I had to wear regular clothes, and I couldn't relate to anyone. I kept to myself all the time and had a hard time making friends. At home, things got harder. My mom had to take on different jobs just so that we could eat. It was so sad how we went from eating high-class meals to eating scrambled eggs almost every day. I knew I should find a job so I could help with the bills, but the thought of me working was ridiculous. So I tried to avoid it at all costs. All my life, I had people do everything for me. How was I going to work for anyone? One afternoon, my mom said to me, "Young lady, you need to find a job." I laughed and thought it was a joke, but the stern look on her face told me otherwise. It was then I knew I had to change and embrace my new life. I had to learn how to survive. I knew I could because people were doing the same. I had applied for 3 jobs, and luckily I got one. I had to work as a waiter. Oh, the irony. After school, I would rush down to work on my bicycle. It wasn't so bad at first, and when I got my first pay, I was excited. After a while, I finally felt happy. I was spending more time with my mom in the kitchen and learning to cook new and different dishes. My mom said to me one day, "I'm so proud of the woman you have become," and I could tell she really meant it. As time went on, I realized that you didn't need to have all the riches in the world to survive. Now I could understand the struggles people faced, because now I was one of them. I don't regret it, because I would have grown up being a spoiled brat. After a while, things got better. My mom had a steady job, so did I. My life was back on track. Did I miss the good old days? Sometimes I did. But I am grateful for everything because it made me mature and see life differently. If you enjoyed my story, smash that like button and feel free to check out the other videos on this channel. See you next time.